Most people believe that they will start living once they heal. What I discovered on my journey is that my healing actually accelerated when I began to live before I felt healed. And this is the one thing that I really believe a lot of people overlook in this world of healing anxiety, chronic illness, depersonalization, anhedonia, and all of these things. And this is why I subscribe to acceptance and commitment therapy techniques. See, on my journey, I spent years waiting around to feel better, waiting around to take that next step until I felt well enough, until I felt ready, and it never happened. It never came. And then I came across acceptance and commitment therapy techniques. I was fed up, I was sick, I was struggling for years, not getting any relief, not getting better, riddled with anxiety, hundreds of symptoms, depersonalization, anhedonia, and all of these things. And I finally understood something about acceptance, and I started to embrace it, and I started to begin to live better with the chronic illness and symptoms. And I stopped making healing my main focus, but rather acting on my values and beginning to live better with the chronic illness and symptoms. And when I did that, everything shifted for me. And I began to go on and heal and make a full recovery. And this is what I teach now. If you guys don't know me, my name is Joe. I'm the founder and creator of Heal Flip. I help people take back their power from that chronic illness and become their own best healer. And this is why I talk a ton around ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy techniques. It's all rooted in psychology, it's all rooted in brain science, and it really gets results in helping you deal with, manage, and overcome uncomfortable, chronic, debilitating symptoms like anxiety, depersonalization, derealization, anhedonia, and things like chronic pain or chronic fatigue or neurological complications. And this is what I realized. So on my journey, like I said, I spent all these years at first trying to see all these doctors, trying to figure it out, trying to understand what was wrong with me and chasing healing, one pill after another, one doctor after another. And not only that, after I finally realized that wasn't working, I went back into sort of these mind body healing techniques that are really popular now, like meditation, visualization, journaling, affirmations, prayer, EFT. And I started doing that, right? But I was doing it with the same exact energy that I was trying to heal with when I was seeing doctors and pills and supplements and all this stuff. So then I just kind of randomly stumbled upon some anecdotal stories at first of people who were like me, that were struggling with chronic debilitating illness and symptoms, people with chronic Lyme disease, and things like MS or cancer or chronic fatigue syndrome. And I'm not saying one is worse than the other. I mean, I was bed sick for years. So, but some of these other conditions, like, people can feel hopeless. But I came across some anecdotal stories that I truly resonated with. This was before I even dived into psychology books and learning about ACT. I came across these people that were just like fed up and sick and tired of focusing on healing, and they began to focus on living in accordance with their values, and they step by step they began to make improvements and go on and heal. And then I've heard so many other stories where these people with things like chronic Lyme disease, they just get fed up and they stop focusing on the chronic illness and symptoms and begin focusing on creating a new life outside of that chronic illness. They get fed up. And that's exactly what happened to me. I got so fed up of just waking up every day in pain, suffering, in misery, focused on my symptoms, wondering what could go wrong next and everything like that. And I began to make a shift consciously every day, that I was going to divert my attention away from my symptoms and illness, learn to live better with that chronic illness and symptoms, and begin to move forward in life, regardless if that chronic illness and symptoms resolved or not. And that energy and that approach got me results, and I went on to make a full recovery. But it wasn't just that. Like I said, I would read psychology books that were not focused on like, these are your symptoms, you got to heal them. It was like, how to practice acceptance, how to practice letting go, how to be more present and grateful in life, how to focus and create a life outside of the chronic illness. And all of this surrounded through acceptance and commitment therapy techniques. Now, obviously, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychologist, but over the last 20 years, I've studied this extensively. I've also worked with a PhD psychologist who's actually in my class right now, who co-signs on everything that I talk about. And I've studied the gut brain connection and all of these things while getting my master's in nutrition. So even though I'm not a therapist, I've taught this extensively, and I've seen so many people get better using this same approach that I did. So how do you go about doing this? How do you go about doing this? Because this is where I hear a lot of people struggle. They'll say, but you don't understand, I have X, Y, and Z symptom. And it's different for everyone. You don't understand, my fatigue is so bad, I can't even begin to live. Or my pain is so bad, I can't even begin to live with that chronic illness. Or my DPDR, my depersonalization, derealization, so bad, it feels like I'm in a dream 24/7. Like, how am I supposed to make peace with this and begin to live my life? I'm not here to tell you that it's easy, and ACT never explains to you that it's ever going to be easy. But the thing that I will tell you, and something that really helped me, is this: you can either suffer and struggle and allow your chronic illness and symptoms to dictate and control your life, or you can struggle and act on your values and begin to have joy even with symptoms. That's really the way you got to look at it. And it's not easy. And the thing that I will tell you guys about this approach, it's not quick. This is where a lot of people just want to go back to quick fix. Let me look for, a treatment for my symptoms, my illness, pills, supplements, doctors, all of these things. So this approach really takes consistency and patience, because if you are trying to do this to heal and get rid of your symptoms, you're going to be like looking at your watch or looking at a clock, being like, am I better yet? That's not how you heal. ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, talks about acceptance, radical acceptance being important. And there's practices for acceptance. Acceptance is diverting your attention away from healing and redirecting your attention towards things that are valuable to you, meaningful to you, that bring you joy, and that are in the direction that you truly want to go in. And that's part of acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean I focus on my symptoms and try to make peace with them, that they're going to be there for the rest of my life. No, 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 no. Acceptance is, they're here now. They're okay now. I can handle them now. And each and every day, I'm going to do my best to handle these symptoms. Yet I'm also going to act on my values and begin moving forward in life little by little. And for me, what this looked like, being someone who was bedsick, not living my life at all. I didn't have a job. I couldn't go to school. I could barely leave the house. My muscles had atrophied. I had little to no energy. It was little steps at a time. Taking walks, stretching, beginning to explore hobbies and activities that I neglected while I was chronically ill. Beginning to dream and think about a life outside of the chronic illness. Like, what would I do if I magically got better? And then slowly started taking steps in that approach to do things. From there, it was like little by little going and seeing friends, or going and trying to do something a little bit out of my comfort zone. And then it was like, okay, now I'm able to move a little bit more. I'm going to do some yoga, or I'm going to do more stretching, or I'm going to exercise a little bit more, walk on the treadmill, and, maybe light jog or whatever. And then it was, let me try to get a part-time job working like 8 hours a week. And then I was able to do that. And then it built off of itself to the point where a year later, I was back at school full time, getting my degree in graphic design. I was working 30 hours a week. And I was living a full social life, with dating, with hanging with friends, and the chronic illness and symptoms were in a distant memory. It didn't mean I was completely 100% better, but I was mostly better, with most days not even recognizing symptoms. And here's the deal: when symptoms did creep back up, I would have practiced this approach again. It's okay. These are okay. They're going to pass. And this is acceptance and commitment therapy techniques. It can sound simple. It can sound so easy. It is difficult. It is hard. This is where sometimes you need support. This is where sometimes you need an approach, or people that have dealt with this and healed through this approach, being like, hey, you're kind of still focused on your symptoms. You're focused on the ups and downs. You're focused in allowing your body and your symptoms and your illness to dictate and control your actions. Now, like, let's make peace. It's okay. What can you do to build some safety, and then redirect? And it's not about gaslighting yourself. It's not about pretending. It's just about what builds safety in your body, and what can you focus on that is actually helpful versus what is going to continue to keep that fear symptom loop still going and you never actually healing. And like I said, guys, all of this stuff is rooted in psychology, in brain science, and rooted in the latest in mind body healing techniques. Everyone's got a little bit of a different package to it, but here's what I will say: some people only talk about acceptance and allowing. It's not enough. I mean, that only is going to get you so far. You have to redirect your attention towards living as well, creating a new life. Some people will tell you to focus so much on getting rid of your symptoms, or healing, or getting rid of trauma, and doing all of these things. I don't believe that that's the way to heal. I believe that the way to heal is to let go of the past, to come back to the present moment, and then to create the new. And this is how healing and moving forward works hand in hand. We let go of the past, the trauma, the stress, the worry, the fear around the symptoms. We come back to acceptance in the present moment, which go hand in hand. And we make peace with our symptoms and do not sit there and focus on them, trying to make peace with them. And then we redirect our attention towards values that we can act on in the present moment, and then creating the new life in the future. And this is how healing works, guys. This is the biggest shift that I've seen a lot of people take, including myself, when they implement this approach. Now, that doesn't mean there's not changes to be made. I will talk about that in another video, and I've done other videos on this. Part of healing is creating that new life outside of the chronic illness. And part of that new life does require making some lifestyle shifts that are going to support your body healing, as well as just living. The last thing I want to leave you with is this. Some people will say, well, I've done that. I've just tried to ignore my symptoms and push through. ACT is not pushing through. Acceptance is not pushing through. Living is not pushing through. All of this is accept, surrender where you are, take incremental steps in the direction of health. It's not push through and white knuckle and fight your symptoms every step of the way. That's still an energy of force, fear, and trying to distract and get rid of. Acceptance is, this is okay right now. I see you, body. I hear you, body. I'm going to honor you, but I'm also going to gently show you that I'm moving in the direction of health. And this is how that formula works. And I truly believe if anyone implements this, whether you are dealing with anxiety, depression, anhedonia, chronic Lyme disease, long COVID, chronic fatigue syndrome, chronic pain, if you implement this approach, you can heal. If you need help on how to implement this approach, I have my Heal Flip manual, which is a guide that you can take and begin to just do it yourself. I also teach this in my class, Heal Club, which is a monthly subscription-based model. I have people all over the world healing and getting better each and every week in the class, and are moving forward and creating new lives outside of the chronic illness. Comment below if you guys need any help with this or are interested in joining.